Superman, written and directed by James Gunn. I've seen this movie twice now, and I'm still conflicted to how to even approach this review. I want to be as honest as possible, of course, but I also fear that with this particular film and the way the fandom is reacting to everything, that I might be misunderstood. But I think the best way to just give an overall summary of my thoughts that is both honest and simple is that I think there's a lot to love, and I do think this is a successful entry into the new DC universe. But I did not love it. And that's okay. I just really wanted to. I must confess, I'm not a big James Gunn fan. Basically, I like his two DC projects. I liked the Suicide Squad movie, and Peacemaker was surprisingly entertaining. But the Guardians trilogy is just not my jam. It's just not for me. But I do want to make it clear, I respect him as a filmmaker. I don't think he's a bad director. I don't think he's a bad writer. His artistic expression is just not for me. I just feared, like many people, that he was the wrong pick for a Superman movie. But I think he really showed his range as a writer and showed his understanding of Superman, but most of all, the DC universe. Now, I do have some nitpicks of this version of Superman, but I don't want to focus on them too much because they're nitpicks. For me personally, there's a difference between emotional and passionate. And to me, this Superman is emotional, which I'm not a fan of that. It just makes me lose connection as a viewer with Superman as a character. And I think certain scenes make this character seem too emotional, and it makes him feel less of a mythical superhero to me. And superheroes are modern myth, and I think Richard Donner, Bryan Singer, Zack Snyder, I think they all understood that, and they made this character mythical. Zack Snyder, of course, took that to a whole other level, which many people don't vibe with. I vibe with it, but I do love seeing these characters as larger than life mythical ideals to strive for. And I feel like this version really humanizes him, which I reject that reasoning, because you can be a respectable, in control, wise being while still being human. The struggles make you human. How you prevail is human. And I think the film does touch that. So again, I'm talking nitpicks. I don't hate the character or anything like that. I just would have wanted it to be slightly different, because I just feel like with the way Superman grew up. But you know what? I'm gonna stop. I'm already gonna start rambling on that, and I already said I don't want to ramble on this particular nitpick. We all have different sensibilities. We all vibe to different things. I think that's okay. But as a whole, I do not think James misunderstood Superman. I don't think he ruined Superman by any stretch of the imagination. And I do think that James succeeded on multiple levels in this film. And a big one is that we understand this Superman. We know this Superman. Because a big plus of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was we got to know these characters so well. And once they all met in Avengers, in Infinity War, Civil War, when all these characters would interact, that is what made it so compelling. It wasn't just the fight scenes. It was seeing these different personalities that we knew. We had connections with all of them. So I think he really delivered in making us know this Superman. And that kind of brings me to the script. I'll get into other aspects of it later in more negative ways. It was very smart the way he wrote people within the world, like General Flag, the Justice Gang, Lois, Jimmy, like literally everyone. Everyone talks about Superman. Everyone talks about the way they view him, their perspective of Superman. And I think that informs our perspective of Superman, not just what we see Superman doing. I really enjoyed that. It was good writing, and it was just such a good way to make us connect with this Superman by learning of him from different perspectives. Now, Justice Gang, humor. Okay, so I was worried about the humor. James Gunn is a very specific flavor, and as I've already stated, not my taste. Personally, I love things to be more serious. I don't mind humor when it feels authentic and natural. I think 80% of this film was hilarious. I think 80% of the humor worked for me. And for someone like me who doesn't love humor, I think 80% is great. So I think success. There were a few moments that to me felt like jokes versus an authentic comedic moment. But that's okay. Like I said, most of it worked. And I don't feel like it ruined the movie at all for me. And Guy Gardner, I was worried about that. Knowing how Guy Gardner is in certain cartoons and certain animated films. And then seeing that he casted his friend Nathan Fillion. And just the brief amounts we saw of him in the trailer, I was like, oh no, is this guy gonna kill the movie for me? Is he gonna derail the film? Is he gonna feel out of place in this world in this wholesome, earnest world with Superman? And dude, I thought Guy Gardner was hilarious. I thought he was awesome. I really vibed with him. I thought he was hilarious. I got a big kick out of all his lines and his stupid haircut. And yeah, big surprise there for me. I really didn't expect to like it so much, and I really liked him. Hawkgirl. I mean, some people might complain that she didn't do much, that she didn't say much. But for me, I mean, I think James he did just enough with the Justice Gang to make this world feel real and lived in. So I feel like all she needed to do was be hot. She was hot. And to be aggressive and serious, because that's what I know of her from the cartoons. And she delivered. She was aggressive and serious, and that's all I wanted. So I'm sold on her so far. So I can't wait to see more of her. Of course, I do want her to be a little bit more fleshed out down the line. But for now, I mean, I'm sold. And Mr. Terrific, he was the freaking MVP of this movie, man. Really loved him. Really loved the performance, the portrayal, the action. No complaints with Mr. Terrific. He was terrific. I will say the way James handled him. I mean, of course, James isn't going to direct everything going down the line, but he's going to have a hand in the way things are portrayed, of course. And I feel like the way Mr. Terrific was handled gave me, to me at least, it gave me an inkling. It gave me a preview of the way Batman will be handled. This serious, dry character being surrounded by humorous, lighthearted characters and this world. And I think it worked. So obviously, I'm not saying that's the same personality as Batman, but it's an inkling, like I said. So also continuing to touch on the fact that the Justice Gang added to the realism of the world. I don't feel like it felt convoluted. I don't feel like they felt like needless cameos. I do think that my favorite aspect of this film, the biggest compliment I could give James, is establishing this DC universe. He did that damn near flawlessly, and that's truly a large feat to, in one film, establish a brand new universe. I feel like the film did what Star Wars did in 77, which was just thrust you into this universe. Just some words in the beginning. Obviously, Star Wars has a long opening crawl. This one has a short paragraph, I guess you could say. But just enough information. We're thrust into the middle of a conflict, and as we go, we're learning through the dialogue, show don't tell, which on some aspect I don't think he did that, but I'll get into that later. But show don't tell, just learning about this world, learning about metahumans, learning about monsters, or what does Superman say, dimensional imp or something. We just learn about what this world is, what this fantastical world is. This is not our real world. This isn't the MCU where it's like Captain America and Iron Man exist in our world. That's not what's going on here, and I love that. And I just love that James went this route, and I think he delivered. Now, my biggest issue of the film, it's a combination, and I don't know what the source is. That's why it's a combination. It's two things to me. It's a mixture of perhaps the script and the editing. I feel like I wanted more, and I guess that's a good problem to have, you know? So the film doesn't feel incomplete. I don't feel like there's plot holes per se, or like if I was lost. I feel like the editing was very much like a check mark, like only give them what they need to know to understand the film. And that's good. But I would have wanted to live in this world more. I would have wanted to get to know these characters more. I personally I like all the characters. I like everyone at the Daily Planet. I like Lex. Superman, obviously, we got a good amount with Superman. On that level, the film is successful because this is Superman's film. But I wanted to live in this world more, get to know everyone. I thought Lois was amazing. She was great. No complaints there. But, I mean, interacting with Jimmy, interacting with Perry, I would have wanted to see more Daily Planet stuff, especially with Clark being there. And I think there probably was, but James cut it out. Same with Lois doing investigation. We didn't need a whole crazy subplot, but I just would have wanted a little bit more to interact with these characters, because they did kind of feel superficial, but at the same time, it was such great performances that it sufficed, you know? The film still works, like I said, and I just felt like the film was just so freaking fast-paced, which on that level, it makes the film very much feel like a popcorn flick, which that's subjective, you know? I guess some people are like, this is a superhero film. That's what it should be. I'm used to other films, and I wanted the same for this film, for it to like transcend the genre a bit and for it to have more to offer. In this regard, they played it safe. And I guess that's okay, but I would have wanted a little bit more on that regard. And as I said with Lex, I don't have complaints with the interpretation of Lex. I love Michael Rosenbaum's Lex from Smallville, and at times he reminded me of it, so that's a plus for me, you know? But I would have wanted him to be humanized more, but not necessarily we relate to him, or not necessarily where we're like, oh, Lex has a big heart. Like, no, I like that James made him like unapologetically evil and dislikable. I like that. But I would have wanted us to see more of him in his personal life, in quiet moments, because to me, Lex has always been similar to Bruce Wayne, to Batman, in the sense that they're human and they use their mind to challenge these godlike beings. And Bruce, Batman, is like the epitome of a man in terms of intellectually and physically. Batman works on his body to be the most efficient, powerful, fast, strong, agile human he can possibly be. And of course, he has an extremely high IQ, and he just constantly feeds himself with information so that he knows how to handle every situation, and he knows languages, and Batman is just that guy. And I think Lex is also that guy on some level. Of course, maybe not to Batman's level, but I think Lex is like that because Lex feels so much envy for Superman, for all these beings, for these metahumans. So I feel like I would have wanted to see something that shows us this. And that's where I don't like some aspects of the script, where I felt like James was telling us stuff versus showing us stuff. Like Lex giving two different monologues that to me felt unprovoked. And I feel like that's why sometimes the dialogue felt a little bit off to me. I don't mind what you're saying per se, but as I said, it just feels unprovoked. Like we're just saying this so that the audience understands the character now, versus, you know, showing. Like a perfect example of this is the conversation between Daredevil and the Punisher in Daredevil season 2. Those characters are telling the audience so much stuff, but it's an authentic conversation. It's an authentic argument these characters are having, and that's how we're learning about them. Same with Batman and Joker in The Dark Knight, that interrogation scene. And I just feel like Lex and Superman, they never really had that moment. Instead, in two random moments, they just say these things. And to me, like I said, it just felt unprovoked and it didn't feel totally natural. I don't know. I think a lot of people love certain lines that Superman says, but to me, it just felt a little off. And same with Lex. So that's a little bit of an issue there with the script again. A big plus for me, I think that the film really delivered with the romance of Superman and Lois. I love it. I love both of them. They have such great chemistry, and their scenes together were great. I wish there was more. Again, I wanted more character moments, but that scene where you see the freaking dimensional imp in the background and they're having a heart-to-heart, I love that scene. I thought it's probably one of the best scenes of the whole movie. Very well acted, very well lit. I even love the little humor in that moment with the hot cocoa. I thought it worked. And what they say to each other, and the punk rock line was nice. Yeah, I just like how you see the world change with Superman. You see how Superman inspires people, and you see how Lois kind of changes, not for him but with him. So yeah, like as you could see, I loved a lot, but I do have some problems with it, and this film very much just feels like a mixed bag to me. But because I am such a big DC fan, I'm leaning positive totally, because I do think it did so much right. And James truly did something bold, you know, with introducing the DC universe in this particular way, and also taking Superman to this new level of comic bookiness, you know. Oh, I can't wait to see more of this universe. It's gonna be so long until Supergirl. I think that's the next one, right? Can't wait. Let me know your thoughts on the film. Let me know your thoughts on my thoughts. Thanks for watching.